Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Miracast webinar, where we're going to have a bit deeper look into Miracast, how Cynap works with Miracast, what the standard is. I will start with a bit of theory on Miracast, where it's coming from, what it's doing, having an idea, getting some ideas on where to use it. I will also go into the configuration of Miracast on Cynap and the different setups that are possible. And I will also additionally at the end do kind of a troubleshooting section, because I feel the need for some advice when it comes to certain troubles where you might run into, because you maybe this is your first Miracast setup, and from then on, I think the last bit is going to be something about, yeah, well, I stop with the link on the documentation where to find more. Okay, I did prepare a small kind of a presentation, so I will share my screen with you so that you have a clear picture of what I'm talking about. All right. So I will also introduce my co-host, Kenneth, Karlberg. He's somewhere in Norway, I guess in Oslo. He will take care of the questions, and there will be a recording. So in case you don't understand my poor English, you will be able to just have a look later on as well. All right, the topics, as said before, Miracast. Miracast, the peer-to-peer protocol, and its extension MS-MICE, made by Microsoft. If you just have a look in on Google, just Miracast and issues, Miracast and problems, you end up with roughly 500,000 hits on Google. All of them usually complaining that something's not working the way it should, or the way it has been advertised. Let's take this example on Reddit. Here's somebody who wants to use his Miracast with mice on his PC, which has the biggest and best kind of graphics card. He has the ports open up, and still he won't be able to connect to his Miracast receiver. Basically, what he doesn't know is that without Wi-Fi, nothing's working on Miracast. Anyway, we don't jump to the end right now. We just take the scenic route and go through what actually Miracast means. So when I was thinking of, when I was Googling for Miracast, and Mira at first had no meaning on why Mira had something to do with Miracast, browsing the web, they showed me an expensive winery where you can buy 6 bottles of wine for $13,000 US. Googling it, did show me up Mira, the Latin word for wonderful, maybe a hint why Microsoft was using that name. Or Mira Mira in Spanish means look, have a look. So all of that and more can be found on Wikipedia, where you can have dozens of explanations what Mira actually means. So casting a Mira, well, I still had no clue. But then I did stumble over a small kind of an entry on Wikipedia. There was actually once a project, a cancelled project by Microsoft, codenamed Mira, where they tried to work with kind of smart devices, with devices that had no CPU in it, just more or less basically a display, which kind of like part of being something of a Miracast. So I guess this is where the Miracast name was coming from. I don't think it's coming from Mira, from a bad spelling of mirror, but well, you never know. Which leads me to the next slide, Miracast. Nobody knows what actually Miracast is, because maybe you're using it, but you don't know that you're actually using it. Especially confusing on Android, where you have Google Cast or Chromecast and Miracast, or screen sharing, or all share at almost the same position on your screen. So here's a list of the names for Miracast on a couple of devices on Android and for Intel. So for Sony, it's called basically screen mirroring, which is perfect. On Panasonic, it's display mirroring. On Windows, it's wireless display. On Google, usually it used to be wireless display 2. On Samsung, it was called All Share. SmartGen on LG, and Intel, the inventor of Miracast, actually had wireless display. Wireless display, actually that's the hint of how Miracast got Miracast. Wireless display used to be the product which came before Miracast. That means wireless display was around and there was no Miracast. Miracast was based on wireless display from Intel in version 3.5. Wi-Fi Alliance together with Microsoft combined together a standard and called it Miracast, which still exists to this date. So the Miracast function. How does Miracast actually work? Now, the classic Miracast or wireless display, the classic Miracast uses peer-to-peer wireless direct. And if you have a look at the PC here in the center, let me just do some drawing here. The PC in the center, this PC is having kind of a wireless chip inside, which is able to use 2 different antennas at the same time, switching back and forth between an internal network and an additional ad hoc network, a wireless direct connection. So you're connected with half of the power with your existing company network and with the other half with a Cynap, for example, or with any Miracast receiver, constantly toggling back and forth. So this is how peer-to-peer works. One connection is one part of your Wi-Fi is connected to your existing network, and one part is connected to a Cynap, for example. Then there's MS-MICE. MS-MICE, the extension made by Microsoft, available only on Microsoft, doesn't exist on Android, extends the functionality of, it's kind of a comfort function for Miracast. That means if you're already connected to your existing network, and on your existing network, there's also a Miracast receiver, this connection will be used to stream the video stream and the audio stream to your Cynap or to your Miracast receiver. Why you're still needing a wireless connection to Cynap directly, that's because of the device discovery. Device discovery still based on the Wi-Fi Alliance and not Ethernet Alliance. The Wi-Fi Alliance, the standard requires the device discovery to be on Wi-Fi. So that's why your PC cannot connect to a Cynap using Miracast. Also, with device discovery on Wi-Fi, the rules of peer-to-peer wireless Miracast still applies to the device discovery on MS-MICE as well. That means 7.5 meter distance max for device discovery. It could be further depending on the antennas, on the position of your Cynap, the position of your laptop. But rule of thumb could be that just 7.5 meters. That's a max distance. That means you cannot walk up to the second level and start a Miracast when your Cynap is actually on the basement. Okay. Also, what's interesting, Miracast MS-MICE does have a fallback to peer-to-peer procedure. So for a certain kind of reasons, like network connection not fast enough, ping took too long, whatever, there is actually no transparency on why peer-to-peer or MS-MICE is being chosen by your laptop. But if the MS-MICE connection does not work, there will be a fallback to peer-to-peer. Now, when it comes to peer-to-peer, there's a special setup for Cynap where you can actually choose the Wi-Fi direct connection if a Cynap is in client mode or if Cynap is in master mode. In client mode, the DHCP runs on your laptop, and your laptop is providing an IP address to the Cynap. This also naturally means that there's only one connection possible. In the master, as a go parameter, Cynap will set up the group, and Cynap will hand out the IP addresses. It will act as the DHCP, and in that setup, Cynap is capable of handling 4 connections at the same time. This can be also mixed with MS-MICE on Cynap and Cynap Core with the additional Wi-Fi chip inside, and with one special configuration also on Cynap Pure and Cynap Pure Pro. We will just come to that very soon. The back channel, that's the way to control your Windows laptop from a Cynap touch connected touch, which allows you to fiddle around on the screen, on your touch screen, and maybe switch a slide on your PowerPoint presentation on your laptop back at your desk, whereas you're standing in front of a touch. The only downside with the master mode is that the SSID is direct. SSID will become visible. In client mode, this SSID will be hidden. So maybe you have to balance it out. You have to think about if your customer wants to have the SSID hidden, then you have to switch your peer-to-peer connection to client mode, restricting you to one single connection over Miracast. So what is now Miracast MS-MICE? Miracast is just being extended. It's not available on Android. On Windows, it's only available on build 1703. That's roughly now 3 years back, with different kinds of functionalities included. No TV so far, as I have seen, does support MS-MICE. I think it is strictly a Microsoft extension, only working on products that support MS-MICE as well. Now, there are the 3 steps for Miracast MS-MICE to run. First, it's discovery. As mentioned some couple of times, this runs over Wi-Fi. Then there's the host name resolution, so that your Windows laptop knows that your Cynap, the name that you have been given to, is reachable under a certain IP or under certain IPs. And then, last but not least, the most important step, the projection itself. Now on discovery, the discovery, that's a vendor beacon. That's called a vendor beacon, that this is being sent out by Cynap or by your laptop constantly. Means sometimes, I think, cycles of every fourth millisecond, or even sometimes more. And resolving the name, for that function, your laptop relies on DNS or MDNS. And on Cynap, you're capable to advertise all at the same time or just a single one. That's a configuration on Cynap. If you're switching to all, then you have to make sure that the host name resolving also works for all. That means MDNS on port 5353 has to be open, has to be enabled. It has to be enabled on your wireless LAN controller. Ports have to be available, and entries have to be made. With the Cynap Pure and the Cynap Pure Pro, you're actually missing one of the Wi-Fi interfaces that the Cynap Core and the Cynap itself do have. The Miracast, the dedicated Miracast port. When you're using LAN, when you're using Wi-Fi in infrastructure mode, there is no way that you can add a peer-to-peer connection on the Cynap Pure or the Pure Pro, because your Wi-Fi connection is already tied to an existing Wi-Fi network, to your customer's network. That means if you're setting up your wireless LAN controller, which you might already have or had to because you want to use Airplane Chromecast, then you also have to do that for Miracast. Service tag for Miracast is called display. If you're using a specific interface, you're still going to need to use the service tag. But if you enter a misconfiguration, like setting MS-MICE interface to all and starting the access point of your Cynap, you might not run into issues when you're to have Miracast once working, once not working, once working again, and once again not working. That kind of, if your laptop catches the proper advertised IP address. And finally, the projection. So for the projection, you have to decide if you want to use MS-MICE or peer-to-peer. If you're in a Windows-only environment and you have set up an Ethernet connection for MS-MICE, you could actually on your Cynap Pure set up your Wi-Fi to off, which will allow the Miracast Wi-Fi chip inside the Pure to act as a pure Wi-Fi peer-to-peer connection. Okay. So let's have a look on the mirroring configuration of Cynap for Miracast only. As mentioned before, we do have the Miracast peer-to-peer mode. What's not visible here is that actually you have to enable Miracast before you can actually use it. So the master mode, you have the master or the client mode. As mentioned before, Cynap supports 4 sessions when it becomes the master and supports 1 connection when it becomes just the client. The Miracast pin, that's very important. If you set the Miracast pin, the Miracast connection, the content will be encrypted. The MS-MICE, that's the extension, you have to enable that, otherwise your Cynap will run in peer-to-peer mode only. Then you have to decide on the interface which IP should be advertised. And last but not least, do you allow user input back channel, UIBC short, which allows you to control a connected laptop. UIBC needs also to be acknowledged by the Miracast laptop client. There's an additional checkbox that needs to be clicked on before you can actually control your own laptop. So here's just a listing on the combinations. So if you have the, we do have 3 different Wi-Fi modes, and based on if you're having 1 Wi-Fi chip or 2 Wi-Fi chips included in your Cynap product, it behaves a bit differently. So that means in infrastructure, you're able to use peer-to-peer because you have an independent Miracast module. The same on access point. Cynap and Cynap Core still can do both at the same time. This interesting part actually is that if you switch the Wi-Fi off on the Cynap Pure mode, you will be able to use MS-MICE over Ethernet, and for the Wi-Fi would become its own peer-to-peer Miracast chip to handle all the peer-to-peer wireless direct connections. And sometimes I do hear, well, it's cool, etc., but is it really safe? And is it possible, for example, to hijack a pending Miracast session on another Cynap networking interface? Let's say there's a connection and you're routing everything, and you could actually backroute back to your laptop and can actually just access your connection. And the answer actually is no. On Cynap and Cynap Core, there is no routing. But on Cynap Pure and Cynap Pure Pro, there's a routing enabled, but not on Miracast. So you won't be able to open up the connection and connect back to your PC if you do not activate the Pure routing. Is it possible to shoulder surfing? So shoulder surfing is somebody just catches your laptop, quickly press the Windows key plus the K key at the same time and starts sharing a session. And you won't notice that one because maybe there's a remote command for that, but that's not possible. It can be completely prevented if you work with pins or with a protected mirroring environment. Or you can also see that once a Miracast or a wireless display connection is active, there will be a pop-up giving you some sort of an indicator that somebody started your wireless display connection. Another question on security is, what about WPS provisioning? This is something that you sometimes have at your printer, where you have to press a button and then you have to start an application on your driver installation on your Windows laptop, and they will auto negotiate a safe link, and then you're connected to your printer without entering any PIN number. Same with a couple of routers, they also do the same thing. Well, on Cynap there's no button to press first. There's no automatically join, and also if you do have a PIN, or if you do set the PIN will be randomly changed. Also, sometimes you're getting asked if you are using hard-coded Miracast pins. We are not. We are using dynamic pins, and they are being changed by the time that you choose. Okay, now for the hard part, actually, usually when you set up a Miracast connection, you're not sure if you're connected by using an MS-MICE connection or using a wireless direct connection. There is an indicator in your task manager where you can actually see if you're running on MS-MICE or if you're running on peer-to-peer. On the left side, you can see that there's a Wi-Fi direct connection down here. And on the right-hand side, it's actually missing, but it could be hidden either here or here. So in this scenario, as you can see on Ethernet, there is close to no traffic, because my laptop at that time was not connected by cable, only by Wi-Fi. So I was using our internal network, and you can see on our internal network there's some traffic. So actually this Wi-Fi direct is missing, means on this side, this here is peer-to-peer, and on that side, on the right-hand side, that's the mice. Just keep attention, pay attention, it's hidden here under performance. Okay, now up to troubleshooting. You're following up this webinar, you went through all documentation that you could find and it still doesn't work. So what are the most common issues? I'm sad to say that sometimes Cynaps are being installed without the antennas attached. Please attach the antennas. It will improve your Miracast experience dramatically. It could be a weak Wi-Fi signal, just based on the position where you did put the Cynap in or on. Second thing, it could be just a simple antivirus or a firewall software that is blocking the necessary ports. Could be a policy, or it could be mobile device management done by an IT department, which is also blocking ports. And less, I see that it's graphics and Wi-Fi driver issues. It used to be a bigger thing because a lot of Windows 7 laptops got updated to Windows 10. Some of them still carrying older hardware, but over time this is becoming a non-issue, I guess. There are still components around, usually by low entry models, that the Wi-Fi driver or graphics driver do not support Miracast. When you do a check, use DXDiag. And DXDiag, you can Google that one. There's 100 tutorials on how to use DXDiag to figure out how Miracast, if Miracast is enabled or not. But more interestingly, do not trust the first statement on top of the file. Scroll down and then check for each driver. It could be that it says Miracast is supported, but then again, if you scroll down, it says graphics not supported for Miracast, and then there you have it. You could actually update the driver if possible, or in some cases, if possible, downgrade the driver, because newer drivers sometimes did take out the Miracast functionality. Or it could be a misconfiguration of the Miracast, of the mirror settings in combination with the Wi-Fi settings on your Cynap. So if you're still having issues because maybe you cannot improve the antennas, there are alternatives. You could actually use Google Chromecast in most of the cases, or you could also actually use the vSolution Cast for Windows. The vSolution Cast for Windows does have the advantage that you are not bound to Wi-Fi. You could actually share your laptop screen using simply just LAN cables. And if you maybe do have time to figure out what the issue is, what you see on your left-hand side here, that's actually one of the schemes, one of the graphs I made to just go through every step to see where the problem might be. I actually do share that on request. Okay, first aid usually is so check if hardware supports Miracast. Check if if your Windows edition is an N edition. I call it the new edition, which does not carry any codecs, so no audio or video codec, which interestingly still shows up the wireless display option on your laptop, but since there is no codec on it, you won't be able to do that. It simply just does not work. Check usually your Windows build number, switch off firewall antivirus. If it used to work and you did a lot of configuration on Cynap, maybe some of the entries have been cached in the settings of your Windows PC, Windows laptop. Just go into the settings of where you can see the Bluetooth and Miracast receivers. Remove the entrance, remove the entry, restart the system, and then you should be good to go. It's gonna take you roughly about 1.5 to 2 minutes to set up the first connection. This connection, I have no idea actually what's happening. I just simply know that the last second of these 2 minutes, that's being used to connect to a Cynap. The 1.99 minute or the 1.59 minute, that's being used to draw some data from somewhere on the web. Yeah, and maybe it helps to switch the Miracast mode on Cynap. This is just part of the first aid. Now I just made a brief overview in this webinar. If you want to read all about the specific setups of your MS-MICE configuration in combination with the Pure and the Pure Pro, there's a document on our website which highlights every mode. Also, always important to know and to read the network integration guide, which shows what ports in general need to be opened, how a Cynap can be integrated into an existing system. And last but not least, the Cynap security white paper, which lists a couple of security questions that usually IT departments do have. All right, now I'm actually ready for some questions, if you have some. And I will stop sharing my screen. So, okay. One of the questions, what I can see is, does Microsoft provide information on certain build numbers that do not support Miracast? Basically, no. We couldn't actually find one, find a document. It's always kind of a bit of a secrecy to see what is supported and what is not supported. I trust the internet. Usually when you just type in your Windows together with your Windows build number, it will, together with maybe something like wireless display, it might give you a hint if it's supported or not. Sadly, sometimes it could happen that one of these hot fixes is actually breaking an existing Miracast setup simply because a graphics driver got downgraded. You won't be able to read that. You might be able to read something that something has been fixed. And usually the users, not the Microsoft, I mean the Microsoft community, the fan base usually discovers these things faster than Microsoft, and usually also show up some ways on how to find an alternative way. Like in one certain case, I remember, where the graphics driver was downgraded to an older one, and a lot of users had issues. It actually was just the simple solution was not just to get rid of the complete patch, but instead of just simply upgrade the graphics driver. But yeah, it takes time. You have to figure out what needs to be fixed and how to actually fix it so that it doesn't happen all the time. I think Microsoft learned a lot with Windows 10, and they did give every enterprise the opportunity to postpone updates and not automatically roll out new updates as soon as they become available, giving customers kind of some time to figure out and to kink out all the problems, so that when you finally update, that all the updates that you are using are actually fine. Anything else that's worth asking? If not, I would like to start a poll. Maybe we do have some visitors who are already using Cynap with an MS-MICE or a non-MS-MICE simple peer-to-peer connection. You could actually participate, and I would like to know a bit if MS-MICE is actually considered serious, or if it's just still, yeah, well, we have tried it out and we stick with peer-to-peer. By end of the poll, I will just share the poll with every one of you.
It just came to my mind, René. We have a way to check on the Windows operating system if Miracast is supported also. But it's included in Windows.
It's a dxdiag, yes. dxdiag.exe. If you start that application, you have to click on a specific button which says Save all information to disk. If you press this button, it will create a text file, usually on your desktop. If you open up this text file, it will state on the first, on line number 5, I guess, on top, if Miracast in general is supported or not with this laptop. But as mentioned before, if you scroll down on that list, you see a specific entry for every driver that has been installed on your system. So it could For instance, your wireless chip could support Miracast, and you might have 2 graphics cards included in your laptop, especially the more powerful ones. And then it could be that one of these graphics drivers does not support Miracast. And maybe that's always the same that is being used for Miracast. In that case, you just have to figure out either update this graphics driver, if that's possible, or have to make sure that if you use Miracast, that the specific, maybe the more stronger graphics chip is being used. And yes, I don't have an example right with me, but there are tutorials on the web. If you just type in DX diag, I can just type it in, find how it's called. I will share that. DX diag. Alexa. So is that one here? dxdiag.exe. And next, what you do is you're gonna save all as file. And from then on, you will open up this text file and check for Miracast entries on the file. Just as mentioned before, do this a couple of times. Just repeat this. Just type in Control F for find and type in Miracast, and you will find more than one entry in this file, this document, and it will give you a hint. It will not give you a hint. It will specifically tell you if your hardware is capable of doing a wireless display connection with any Miracast receiver. Okay, now there's another question. Do I recommend Miracast MS-MICE or the V-Solution casting app for those devices that don't support Miracast peer-to-peer? Well, you cannot not support Miracast peer-to-peer. Miracast peer-to-peer is always available on your laptop. But when it comes to Cynap, to the Cynap Pure, and you think about, well, I think it's less a technical question. You have to think about the users. What kind of users do you expect? If you, for example, have 90% of the people who are using a Cynap Pure are also coming in from the outside, and you're not sharing any videos, for example, then you can actually switch to peer-to-peer because it just seamlessly works. It's not a problem. If you're using the access point of the Pure, which I think I would recommend, because then you can also allow your guests to use AirPlay, for example, if by any chance a MacBook turns up. And the V-Solution casting app, that's actually, I think that's great if you have a rollout, if you want to have more control over your setup, because with Miracast, you have no idea what's really going on. Is it MS-MICE? Is it peer-to-peer? Do you have to open up a specific port? With the V-Solution app, it gives you that kind of additional control. Also, the V-Solution casting app, the V-Solution Cast, also works on a Windows 7 PC, whereas Miracast, if you have a legacy system, is just not available. That's, I think, how I would consider switching to peer-to-peer or MS-MICE. I think if you have 99% of Windows users, then you could actually, and it's just an internal thing where you have MS-MICE coming in through your Ethernet port, then you could actually dedicate the Wi-Fi to peer-to-peer. and giving you a proper fallback option on your Miracast screen sharing.
Another take on that question, René, is other features you get if you're going with a vSolution Cast instead of MS-MICE? Any advantages?
Yeah, I think the advantage is the configuration. You can add favorites. You can have them as a kind of an XML, not a kind, it's an XML file that you can distribute. A lot of files that you can distribute is actually helping. I guess in an enterprise environment, it's this legacy. You can use it on older operating systems. It does the same thing like Miracast. You have this touchback, this user input back channel UIBC support. You do have 4K on the vCast as well.
Yeah.
Now there's, I think there was just a new edition came out which supports just the sharing of single windows, not just full screen. Something
more control of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And well, what else?
We can minimize and maximize the windows as well, can't we?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
We
yes.
have a little more control with a Cast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's just I think Miracast is kind of a general approach, and it's just what you have on your desktop. It's gonna be. You can extend and duplicate your laptop. Same thing with the vCast.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a choice. I think if you don't want to add an additional software into the mix, so you just want to go with what's available on your operating system, then you want to go with Miracast. If you don't mind and you want to add kind of a bit more control, then you might consider using the vSolution Cast, actually. Yeah. But that's a good question, yeah.
Any other questions? Would be nice to see everybody. Are they thinking? Are they wondering on something? But I think you might have covered it all, René.
Yeah, well, I think you have to get your hands on. You have to get your hands dirty. You're going to end up sometimes with a non-working Miracast connection. This could happen. But I think the Miracast connection is pretty solid. I actually like it very much. The difference between MS-MICE and peer-to-peer, I think it gives you the edge. If you have video sharing, you will maybe decide for MS-MICE, especially when you're using Miracast internally. It gives you additional security when you're using certificates on your laptop. You have a very secure, very stable, and very safe network environment. Well, at least I hope. And the peer-to-peer connection is kind of a bit, well, it's very comfortable. But I think that's where it started. It was coming out of the TV sector. Means you're taking this, you're taking your computer, you have a video on it, your thing that you did with your Windows home video editor, and then you want to share it proudly on your, for example, Samsung TV, and then you end up showing that. And I think what I have in mind is actually, I think Miracast was actually kind of late in the game. First of all, it first was AirPlay with wireless display, roughly at around the same time. Then this thing with screen sharing did catch on, and then it was Microsoft, and the final one was actually Google with Chromecast, that they also thought about adding their own kind of specific brand. And It's also kind of sad because Android used to have a pretty solid Miracast implementation, and as we have seen over the last 2 years that Android is losing, keep pushing Chromecast more and more in and trying to get rid of Miracast at the same time, and giving the handle to that thing over to the TV manufacturer like Samsung, so that they have to keep the protocol in until maybe it's not worth it, because maybe the TVs also are carrying Chromecasts in it automatically, like the same thing what happens with AirPlay. Then it could be that this wireless screen sharing on Androids will be completely stopped. This could be maybe a dead end on Android. But on Microsoft, I think they have to take that and keep it. And as we have seen with MS-MICE, Microsoft is still extending and keeping this format alive, and based not just on the problems that the users have on the large number. Actually, I think there's a demand for something that runs stable and very well, and the functionality, the use of such a screen mirroring application is always also needed on still is very much so needed. And I think, although if you don't maybe know Miracast, you definitely know maybe wireless display on your Windows PC. Also, great thing, you can actually use wireless display from one Windows laptop to another one, which is also kind of a nice thing if you just want to share something quickly with a colleague who's maybe sitting next to you or just in the other office and you have to share something. But yeah, okay, I think we'll end the poll and we'll share the result. I think MS-MICE clearly has won. 77% of all the attendees are using MS-MICE. I think that would be my decision maybe as well. But there are definitely also reasons why you don't want to add MS-MICE into the mix and you want to just go with the classic peer-to-peer approach. All right, and Kenneth, so far, have you learned something new?
Every day.
Every day, yeah, that's great, fantastic. Yeah. All right, okay, I don't see any new pending questions.
No, I think they are still online, but if nobody has any new questions and you are done.
Yeah, maybe too confused already. I could be.
Maybe.
All right.
It will be available on our YouTube channel as usual, so possible to watch it one more time later.
Yeah. Yes. We'll be there for, I hope not eternity, but for a couple of months.
I guess so. Oh.
All right.
Good one, René.
Well, it's okay. I hope it wasn't too complicated. It's actually not a complicated thing. It's straightforward. The only thing that you have to take care of and keep in mind, that this beacon, the advertisement of MDNS, of the host name resolving when you're using MS-MICE. If you keep it on all, it could be that maybe your Miracast connection only works partially, a clear indicator that maybe you have to switch it to a specific interface on the Pure. For example, you have the access point up on your Cynap Pure, the Cynap Pure Pro. Then set this beacon, this advertisement, to LAN, so that the MDNS is running on 5353 on the wireless LAN controller. MS-MICE will pick it up on your laptop and will only get one single IP instead of two, which will not confuse your laptop and everything will be fine. And also that kind of fallback will be also working in that case. Okay, I think everything's said. No confusion based on the questions we get. We both did a great job. Congratulations, Kenneth.
Thank you.
I expect now no more support calls on Miracast in the future. That's my private goal.
Good. I learned a
All
lot.
right.
Nice. So thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for you co-hosting, Kenneth. It was great.
You're welcome.
And
okay.
Well, then let's see you next time. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everybody.